Commentary. How not to cover Donald Trump's bizarre 2024 campaign for president. The press should borrow a lyric from The Sound of Music and ask itself, how do you solve a problem like Donald? Or, put another way, how should journalists cover former President Donald Trump's unprecedented campaign for president while under indictment for trying to overturn an election and more? The question concerns not just Trump but also politics and campaigns more broadly in an age of fragmented media and polarized politics. The answer requires recognizing journalists' altered role and fulfilling it with more care, preparation and diligence. Time equals 400 Ms. Greater than many confronting the challenge of covering Trump conclude that, as a recent column in the Arizona Republic put it, it's time to stop giving Trump airtime. The larger point is that the media shouldn't give exposure to people they know are going to make provably false assertions. The problem with the "don't amplify liars" argument is twofold. First, the press is no longer a gatekeeper of what people know. It's more often an annotator of what they've already heard elsewhere. So not covering Trump, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene or others in politics who say patently false things will not silence them. It will just leave them less examined. Time equals 400 Ms. Greater than second. It's a dereliction of the press's duty to ignore powerful dissemblers and liars in public life. We have an obligation to explain what's false and offer clear and persuasive evidence of the truth. We have to help the public understand. How can the press do that? Let's start with Kristen Welker's much criticized recent interview with Trump on NBC's Meet the Press. The problem wasn't that a reporter was interviewing Trump. The failures were in the execution. The greatest failure was in not anticipating what Trump would predictably say and being prepared to follow up. Journalists tend to exaggerate the power of the great question, and too often fail to develop strategies that lead to better answers. One reason so many politicians are having their way with reporters today is that they are better prepared and better versed in interview dynamics than the people interviewing them. This notion of mapping out a questioning strategy is interviewing 101 for lawyers. Attorneys identify where they want to end up and work backward, developing a series of questions that will guide a dishonest witness to a place where their evasions are exposed. Journalists need to plan their interviews in the same way but too often don't. This strategy usually relies on specificity, asking an evasive subject to provide evidence of their false assertions, and having evidence ready to contradict predictable falsehoods and exaggerations. Jonathan Swan, then of Axios, provided an apt example in a 2020 interview with Trump. When the then president tried to flimflam him with misleading statistics at one point, Swan replied with precision, detail and follow-up, "Oh, you're doing death as a proportion of cases," Swan told Trump. "I'm talking about death as a proportion of population. That's where the US is really bad, much worse than South Korea, Germany, etc.," continued.